Rescue teams have located a vehicle believed to have been driven by two miners who are trapped 125 metres underground in a remote Queensland zinc mine. Joining us now is workplace safety expert Professor Michael Quinlan. Appreciate your time, Michael. Thank you so much. Firstly, just what is your understanding of what's actually happened here? I mean, obviously this will be subject to investigations, but what do we know already about how it is that the men ended up down the mine?
Well, the reporting is that there was a fall of ground which caused the digger to go down, and then a light vehicle which was behind that. The driver escaped from the digger, but the light vehicle then went down. We need more information, basically, whether the safety barrier, which is normally at the end of the stope, was operating, and whether that may not have made any difference if there was a fall of ground. I think that then they need to do a full investigation. There has been a concern with serious incidents and fatalities in the Queensland mining industry, both coal mining and metalliferous, since at least the Grosvenor inquiry, the Grosvenor disaster, and or near disaster. And what sort of things they would need to do is obviously look to see if there were any prior falls of ground, particularly unplanned falls of ground. Ground falls in mines are planned, but whether there are any other unplanned falls of ground in the mine, whether the barrier would have made any difference. If there were previous falls, were they close to this area, and should that have given the mine some concerns or awareness that there was a problem in that area? We don't know that at this stage, but typically with these incidents, there often are warning signals prior to them. We don't know in this case, but certainly that needs to be investigated, and clearly the management systems in place at the time to see that the men in the light vehicle were as safe as could be possible and working in the due process. But from what I know, it seems that's the case. And if it was just a fall of ground and there weren't any warning signals of prior events or unplanned falls of ground in that area of the mine, then that's one sort of outcome. But if there were, then that's another outcome of the investigation. I think the other thing with these sorts of incidents is you need to look at other mines to see if there are other similar problems at other mines.
Okay, so in terms of what would be happening now, just take us through it. What would be happening on the ground there as part of this rescue operation as they try to recover these guys?
Well, there'd be a rescue team on site, and the mining industry is well organised in that way. They've located the vehicle. I have to say that 125 metres is a very long fall, and there's no indication that they've found any sign of life at this stage. So it's, without wanting to sound too pessimistic, it's not looking good at this stage, but you don't know. They could have survived. There's often a rescue narrative with these sorts of incidents, and I understand that, but you know, it's a long fall, and falls in mines are actually a frequent source of fatalities. They're one of the major causes of fatalities in mines. Not falling necessarily 125 metres, but the other sorts of those and other falls in mines are one of the 8 known ways that miners tend to die.
Yeah, look, it is looking very grim, and our thoughts obviously with the victims of this horrible incident. What are the conditions like down the mine? If, you know, on the odd chance they have survived, I mean, how long could they stay down there?
Well, if they are still alive, they may have no communication. The vehicle was obviously quite badly damaged in the fall, one would imagine, so any communication they might have had may not be working. They have to locate whether there hasn't been any mention if the men are still in the vehicle or whether they were thrown clear or whatever. I mean, obviously that needs to be followed up. And it will be. I mean, the rescue procedures in the mining industry are pretty good, but they need to be careful, because if the ground's unstable, the last thing they want to do is send a rescue team in, which may also get trapped by a fall. So they have to be quite careful in these situations, why they've sent drones down in that first. So, yeah, that's all they can do at this stage, really. but I think they need to do a thorough investigation and put it into the context. In the industry as a whole, the mining industry, multiple fatality incidents are now relatively rare in the industry. That's been a major improvement since the late 1990s, both coal and metalliferous. But single fatalities and double fatalities remain, that trend line hasn't really improved. And I think there needs to be a rethink on, not necessarily based on this incident, but in the broader perspective about how that can be shifted. Now, there is some work being done at it, I know, but I think a really critical lens needs to be brought at these incidents, and to see in particular what general things can be done to improve the safety of miners. I mean, Australia has one of the safest mining industries in the world, if not the safest. So we could need to put it into context, but clearly there are lessons to be learned, and mining has improved, and I think we can make mining even safer than it is now. But to do that, we need to get at the root causes of why people get severely injured or killed in mines. And I'm not entirely convinced we're always moving in that direction, but if we have that sort of debate, I think further improvements are possible. But obviously, for the families, this is a terrible situation. I've actually been involved with a study of how workplace death affects family, and I can tell you the effects are really profound. Let's hope that there is a rescue, but they need to bring in the proper support services either way, and the company and the regulator need to keep the families fully informed of what's going on.
Yeah, sympathies with all of those people who have been impacted. Professor Michael Quinlan, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for your insights.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.